I'm Sam with JBugs.com. We're just about ready to install the transmission back into the 1963 Resto Custom Beetle. We will be replacing the original rubber mounts with stock replacements, and for some added security, we will also be installing an empty, padded rear transmission support kit. Before we put the transmission back into the car, we will install a new starter bushing, and that all begins at the workbench. A new bushing is slid over a socket extension, and another extension is attached and used to guide the bushing into place into the transmission. A hammer is used to tap the bushing and seat it in place in the transmission. Next, a new front transmission mount is bolted to the transmission, along with a new chassis ground strap, and the new nose cone boot is slid onto the nose cone. Two new rear transmission mounts are installed and loosely bolted inside the bell housing, and the transmission is now ready to install. At the car, which is jacked up and sitting on stands, the stock rear transmission carrier is removed to make way for the empty support. And a new transmount sleeve is installed onto the nose cone mount at the chassis. The transmission is set on a jack and lifted into place into the chassis. The nose cone mount is guided into place. The ground strap is placed over the left stud, and nuts are threaded on and tightened down. Now the clutch cable is routed through the transmission guide, followed by the Bowden tube. The clutch cable seal is slid over the cable onto the Bowden tube, and the clutch cable is attached to the throwout arm on the transmission. This is all done with tension held onto the clutch cable so the clutch pedal does not fall. The new rear transmission carrier is bolted to the chassis. The rear transmission mounts are bolted to the carrier, and the nuts for the mounts inside the bell housing are tightened. Inside the car, a new empty urethane transmission coupler is bolted to the shift rod and shift selector. The grub screws are tightened and safety wired to the coupler around the shift rod. The access plate is set back onto the chassis, and the set screw is reinstalled. The left and right axle tubes are bolted to the spring plates. The brake rotors are reinstalled. The nuts are tightened down, and the cotter pins are installed on both sides. The rear shocks are bolted in place to the axles. The brake calipers and brake lines are routed in place along the axle tubes and installed along with the brake hose clips. The parking brake cables are installed onto the calipers, and inside the cables are tightened at the handle. Next, we will test fit the empty padded rear transmission strap around the bell housing, and can see that the rubber pad will have to be trimmed along the firewall seal. The firewall seal is also cut away where the strap will sit, and the rubber pad is trimmed at the back edge so it can sit in place on the bell housing and not sit past the back edge of the transmission. The strap is set in place over the transmission and bolted to the rear carrier, and will help hold the transmission in place when we put a more powerful engine in the car later. A new throwout bearing is installed onto the cross shaft with new clips. And for good measure, we drain the old transmission fluid out by removing the drain plug. Once the transmission is drained, the plug is threaded back into place, and the fill plug is unthreaded. Fresh 85W90 gear oil is pumped in until the oil starts to seep out of the fill hole. The fill plug is threaded back into place, and our transmission is ready to accept an engine. Our 1963 Resto Custom Beetle is just about ready to head to the body shop, but it may be the star of a video or two more before it's painted. While you await our next video, shift your favorite web surfing device over to JBugs.com for all your vintage Volkswagen transmission parts and accessories.